Hello, Super Coaches. The teams are in for round 5. There are injuries galore, suspensions galore. Wilson Smith, how is your team shaping up?
Actually, pretty good. I wasn't too badly affected last week, other than having Tommy Turbo as my captain.
Yes.
Still managed to crack 11.43, I think, so not too bad. And this week it's looking okay.
Yeah, Captain Turbo last week, Cleary the week before, so struggling away in 40,000th odd position. We've got Jett Hatton here from punters.com as well. How's your team travelling?
Good, mate. I've managed to avoid the Tommy Turbo bullet by trading him out last week, so I didn't captain him, and that's seen me go up with some green arrows this week, so it's good.
So the teams are in. What's your biggest takeaway, Wilso?
Biggest takeaway for me is Latrell back, but at centre, which I think raises massive red flags for me. Also, he may not be goal kicking, so just massive red flags for me. He's currently the 6th most purchased, and I think it's just a massive avoid for at least a couple of weeks.
For me, it's Riley Smith out of Parramatta being named starting 9.
Nice.
I think he's the future of the club. He's come off the bench the last few weeks. He's a great downgrade option for anyone who has Tom Starling, Sandon Smith if you're looking to sell. Riley Smith for me.
Yeah, very keen to see how he goes this weekend. My takeaway is obvious. It's Tom Jenkins. He's been named. I think job security is good. Dylan Edwards isn't in the team this week, but Jenkins had won that spot ahead of a spot in that back line ahead of Casey McLean coming in this week and ahead of the Brian Tu'o injury. So job security is good. He's predicted to rise by $113,000 this week. You can play him in your 17. He's got absolutely everything we want from a cheapie. He is a must-have. I'm sorry that's obvious, but you just have to get him.
Yeah, especially with a good matchup this weekend. He could go massive and just make a ton of cash.
And I've just put in a segment at the last moment here to catch you guys off guard. Quickly, best replacement for Tom Trbojevic, who, of course, if you haven't heard, he's out for 4 weeks, so he is a sell.
Yeah, definite sell. For me, I'm looking to pivot to either Pappenhausen. I missed the initial price rises, but I think he's still worth jumping on, or Gutho. Down a little bit from last week, from the previous few weeks, but I think there's still money to be made there.
Yep, for me, if you didn't go Pappenhausen last week, I feel like it's an easy sell straight down to him. If not, maybe a Reece Walsh. He's bottomed out in cash. He's got a big gaming coming, I'm sure of it. So one of those two, you can't go wrong.
Yeah, I was going to say Reece Walsh. He's actually in my team as we currently sit here right now. I'm not saying I'm going to buy him, but he is very cheap. The other guys, I mean, obviously Jenkins is a really popular replacement. Pappenhausen I like. If you don't own Ponga, I think he is the best replacement, but a lot of people do already. And Campbell, Jaden Campbell is a really good buy. I know he gets knocked a lot for being, just inconsistent. But I think he's fixed that up recently, especially since he moved to halfback, and especially now he's kicking goals.
He's definitely a lot more consistent since moving to halfback, but for me, it's the roller coaster ride is still a bit too risky, so I won't be going there.
We've got some good subs deals at the moment. On my late mail live show last week, at the end, I did a quick run through on SuperCoach Plus and all the features that you can use there. If you're interested in it, or you just want to know how to use SuperCoach Plus, I suggest you track that down. It's $29.95 for the year, or just get a code subscription. That's $59 for the year, so $1 a week. Both really good deals. On to this week's first game, Raiders v the Sharkies at the Raiders. They've got Smithies back, which means that my man Trey Mooney, who I was hoping would become a cheapie, is out of the team. So he got that 80 odd in the first week, then only played 23 minutes on the weekend, and now he's out. I still think he's a really good young player, but unfortunately not a cheapie for SuperCoach.
Yeah, maybe keep an eye on him if they do get some more forward pack injuries, but for now, definitely not.
And Savelio Tamale, good to see him get a try on the weekend. He's almost in keeper category. Like, he's going to go up by another. He's going to go. His total price rises will go over 200k within the next 2 weeks, averaging in the mid 50s. You keep him indefinitely.
Yep, and even though his job security looked like it was sealed, the fact that Albert Hopewade has done his ACL just locks him in there for the season. He breaks tackles. He's a big runner. Can score tries. Hold him until his price rises seem to start bottoming out, so that's what I'll be doing.
And Matty Nicholson did a decent job for Supercoaches last week as the cheapie of the week. 44 points, a few more runs than we've seen recently. Almost got a couple of tries. He came very close a couple of times. So hopefully he can jag another this weekend, because he is very dangerous close to the line, but doesn't have a huge work rate.
Yeah, it was disappointing that his score last week. Like, he still did his job for us, which is encouraging. But yeah, fingers crossed he can just score a try or something and get that break even low again, because I'd like to keep him for a little while longer.
Yeah, at least until Hosking comes back. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, he's a good player. He can run a line. He's going to get a try. You can just see it. He's always there. 44 points is pretty good considering we had questions around his base. So I avoided him. I don't really mind that. I let him go. I went Angus Crichton instead. So
yeah, nice.
So yeah,
another guy who's coming down to a really good price at the moment. Tom Starling, who owns him? What are we doing? Because the break even's 53, so the price rises are basically over.
Yeah, I have him. I think I'm going to hold him for at least another week, and then Harry Grant had his first sort of good score for the season last week, and he's dropped a fair bit of cash, so potentially try and move him up to Grant at some point. Or, like you mentioned, Smith from Eels could be a downgrade option.
Yeah, I don't own him. I was going to suggest to hold him for this week and maybe flip him to Cleary next week if you have Sandon Smith there. But the fact that Riley Smith's been named at hooker, I think he's a great downgrade option. You'll make a couple $100K out of that, and that'll give you plenty of cash to free up elsewhere to make other trades.
Yeah, Harry Grant's got a big BE. It's in the hundreds, I believe, but did struggle with a knee injury over the weekend. He had to get it strapped at one stage and was limping around a bit before. So I'm going to hold Starling for one more week, potentially go to Harry Grant next week. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, he got given a few late attacking stats too. He was on about 40, and I think they took a few off Pappenhausen and gave him to Harry Grant. So he ended up on 70 after he was on like maybe 45 or something. So
on to the Sharkies. My pot of the week last week, Kyle Iro, looked sensational for a half and then did his hammy. So Mawene Hiroti comes in. What's your read on Nicho Hynes? I know you're an owner. Is he worth shelling out that almost 800K for? Because he's been a little bit rocks and diamonds. He's had 2 good games against poor opposition, but then he's had some tough matchups in there too against Panthers and was it the Doggies last week, and he did okay in those clashes.
Yeah, they found it really hard to get the ball in the red zone of the Bulldogs on Saturday. The Bulldogs were just so good. No excuses for the Sharks. Their defensive line was great. They just couldn't get into the attacking zone, and I thought Nicho getting 60 was just one try assist. I think it was only major attacking stat. I thought that was a positive. The Sharks have a really good run coming up for the next 4 or 5 so weeks, so if you had him, I wouldn't be selling him at all.
Yeah, definitely hold. Not sure if I'd be going out of my way to get him though just yet. I think you can maybe get him in a few weeks.
There's no
possibly
options
a bit
there
cheaper.
too.
I'm actually kind of liking what I'm seeing, and I've got him on my radar as a replacement for Tom Trbojevic. If you have him in flex position, or you've got the right dual position players. Onto the Panthers v the Cowboys. So Cleary's back. That's good. He's out for 4 weeks. So Casey McLean comes onto the bench, and there's no Dylan Edwards yet. The coach did say that he'd probably be named, but he's not there. So you'd think he's back next week. Jenkins is a must-have. We've spoken about him. Cleary back from concussion. The break-even is 142. So if you don't own him, he could be very cheap next week.
Yeah, well, I mean, he could be, but he could also be in for a big matchup. Cowboys looked decent defensively last week, but the previous 3 weeks, one of the worst defensive teams in the comp. So Panthers could go big, but Panthers have also been leaking heaps of points, so it's a bit of a hard game to get a read on. But you'd think Panthers put on a bit of a score here.
It's going to be tough. They don't have Brian Toto, who's basically a front row for him. I think the Cowboys, they've steadily improved each and every week. I'm sort of wishfully hoping that he scores like 40 or something, and then he drops way down in cash, and we can just get him for sub 700, 650,000. So it's going to be hard not to own him this week, knowing how big he can go, because he's obviously one of the best players in SuperCoach. But yeah, with that break even, I think you have to wait until next week.
He's VC or C for me. I might even have a crack at the C again, even after that disaster a couple of weeks ago.
He owes you one.
On to the Cowboys, no changes. So Jackson Purdue is the interesting guy in this team. A lot of people own him. The break-even is negative. It's negative 10, predicted to go up by 50K. When are you planning on selling Purdue, and would you sell him this week for Jenkins?
This week? Oh, for Jenkins, there's an argument for it. I don't think I'd be doing it. Purdue sort of started the season a little bit slow, but he's looked really, really likely in the last few weeks. And I've liked what I've seen, so I'd be holding for a couple of weeks at least, personally.
Yep. I mean, he could become someone like De Groot next week.
I could never sell someone with a negative break even too. If you saw him go out there and score 70, Jags at try, you've seen these outside backs score really well against Penrith lately. So who's to say you can't punch out 60 and go up another big price rise?
Yeah. Rabbitohs v Roosters, as you mentioned, Latrell, 6th most purchased player, but he's at centre, so I think he is in the void. The follow-on from that is that Jai Gray stays at fullback, and I think the fact that Jai Gray is going so well and he's leading the Dally M was a big reason why Wayne Bennett decided to switch Latrell to centre. And I also think that Jai Gray, if you own him in draft, you're absolutely laughing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, fullback depth in draft at the moment is very bleak. So if you manage to pick him up in the last few weeks, you'd be cheering. I think the other reason Latrell's back at centre is just coming back from that hamstring injury. They probably want to ease him back in a less intensive role. And then he could potentially move back to fullback in the coming weeks. So I think you're cheering if you own Gray in the draft for now, but you need a replacement option in a few weeks maybe.
Yeah, I don't see Latrell playing centre for more than 3 weeks.
Yeah.
If the South Sydney want to win a competition, it's with him at fullback. As good as Jai Gray's going, Latrell's their man, he's their franchise guy. Let's just hope he gets a few low scores at centre and we get a nice little price drop. Because there's no way you can touch him at 866k at playing centre. So
there was a suggestion in Fatima's story today that the reason for it, one of the main reasons, was that Campbell Graham is injured, and so they need a new centre. So they need to cover centre, so they've moved him out for now, and then we'll see what happens.
Yep.
Lachlan Hubner's back, so that's good. He was a popular cheapie from round 1, and he'll finally get his first price rise after this week, around 50k. The Roosters, so Radley's out, Butcher goes to lock, and Connor Watson is back, which is good to see. Robert Toya, 7th most sold player. He's one of these guys that I put in my 17 and I'm pretty happy with it because he's got good base, makes quite a few runs, and you can always bank on some tackle busts. So I feel a bit dirty about selling him, but the break even is 22, so he's getting close to his peak.
Yeah, I mean, there's still cash to be made there, but like you said, he is close to his peak. So I think the fact that he's almost reached that sort of flattened out a little bit, and you can maybe consider moving him onto Jenkins this week.
Yeah,
and I mean, he looks likely. It just hasn't eventuated because the Roosters' attack has been struggling a bit.
Yeah.
But he could be in for a big week this week.
Yeah, and he's just a reliable player.
Yeah.
As Tom said, you can just chuck him in a 17. He's going to get 40 at the very least. Gets an attacking stat that's up to 70. So the Roosters, they're going okay, even though they're not winning games. I feel like they're going all right. And he hasn't really got many opportunities, so he's going to get them eventually, and he'll go up in price.
Yeah, I think we're going to get another kick from Toya, so I'm a bit worried about selling him this week because I know he's probably got another 100k, maybe even more in him at some stage. Nafahu White, shout out to him, 87 and 77, so he's absolutely killing it. He could even be, well, he's an indefinite keeper now. He may even be a guy that you keep right to the end of the season. We'll wait and see. And then Sandon Smith, very popular player, but the break even is 30, so we're getting close to him having peaked. What are your plans with him?
I think I'm going to hold for now. Their coverage during the bye round is actually really good as well, so I'm hoping he gets some more attacking stats in the next few weeks and the break even can drop a little bit, and then we can just hold him for the first bye at least. But he is getting to that point where it's looking a bit questionable whether you hold him now.
I thought he was going to go huge on Friday night. He was on about 46 at the half, and then nothing sort of went right for him. I've got Angus Crichton now, so I don't mind having both of them on the same side. So if you want to get Crichton, you can sort of pair them together.
Eels v the Dragons. Dragons good win against the Storm on the weekend, so should mop the Eels in this one. Dylan Walker makes his Eels debut, which is interesting to see, and as you said, Riley Smith starting at hooker, so he is definitely a guy to watch for SuperCoach. The other guy is Isaiah Yongi, of course, extremely popular, but the break-even is now 6. He's made 84k, getting to his peak, and he's a popular sell this week. What are you doing?
I'm going to hold. I think there's still money to be made there. Para have been struggling, but he's still looked pretty impressive. He's scored some decent scores in games where he hasn't even really done that much. So I think there's still money to be made there, so I'm holding.
Yeah, he's a shining light on an awful side.
Yeah.
He was unlucky not to get a try assist right at the end. They just called it forward. It was marginal, I thought. It could have gone either way, but if he gets that, his score goes up to 55 or something, and no one's selling him because everyone's happy that he's averaging 50 to 60 every game. So when Mitch Moses comes back, I'm not sure how far away he is, but he should only improve. So yeah.
Another guy I've got my eye on who's not particularly well owned in Supercoach, Zach Lomax is quietly putting together a pretty good season for Supercoach. The break-even is 90, but he's averaging 66, so he could be a sneaky option in the future. Onto the Dragons. Obviously, Gutherson, it's all about him at the moment, made 80k, but the break-even is now at 40. So I think the price rises have almost stopped for now. But you look at his run, Eels, Titans, Sea Eagles and Roosters. Pretty good run. So if I had Gutho, I wouldn't be going out of my way to buy him, but certainly he should be making a bit more cash in the next couple of weeks. And another thing to point out, I think he was the best player on the field up against the Storm on the weekend, but only got 40-odd Supercoach points.
Yeah, so, I mean, it was a low-scoring game, but from what we've seen so far, when the Dragons are scoring points, it's him who's at the centre of it all. So I really like that. They've got the Eels this week, who are one of, if not the worst defensive team in the comp at the moment. So it's a good matchup for him. I think he could go massive this week, which is why I'm tempted to go him instead of Paps.
Unfortunately, you don't get Supercoach points for having a red-hot crack, because that's exactly what he was doing. Jeez, he was everywhere.
Yeah. Couple of try savers.
I love Clint Gutherson. He's such a good player. Like, you love him now as the Dragons fan.
Well, now he's at the Dragons.
Yeah, and they tried to take the try assist off him too, and they gave it back to him. So
he ended up getting it back.
He got it back, yeah.
There we go. In terms of their team, so Gula's banned for 3 weeks, Couchman starts, and Blake Laurie comes onto the bench. And good to see Hamish Stewart, who's in 12% of teams, as a prop cheapie. He's been cleared of a facial injury, so he's been named and should play. Titans v the Dolphins. So the Titans, Verrills is out. It's only minor. It's a hip injury, 1 week. So Randall starts at hooker. Let's elaborate a little bit on Jaden Campbell, because he is very popular. In fact, he is the most popular replacement for Tom Trbojevic in the gun category. Projected rise is 44k. So, I mean, he will make money, but you're not getting him for the money. You're getting him for the average, which is 75 and kicking goals. Yeah,
I just think the average is a little bit deceptive, because there's some really high scores in there and some pretty mediocre ones. But that's just the roller coaster ride you're getting yourself in for if you do get Jaden Campbell. I'm going to avoid, but who knows? Maybe everyone who brings him in this week will be cheering at the end of the round. Dolphins haven't been that great defensively either, so he could be in for a big score. But then he could be in for a bad score next week. You just don't really know. Yeah, quite a few are offloading Luke Metcalf to him as well. I think 5'8's a bit of a wasteland this year, and he might just be the standout there. Yep. You got him, you got Cameron Munster, Dylan Brown's not going very good. If you want to just sort of lock him in and forget about a position, knowing what he's going to do each and every week, even though he can be inconsistent, I think he's a good purchase. Yeah, or even buy him at fullback this week, and eventually with the plan to put him in at 5'8". On to Jalen de Groot. Now, not a particularly good Supercoach score, only 9 runs. He's obviously a definite cheapie option for next week. He will earn dual position status if he stays in the team, given that Keanu Kinney is injured. Now, you were at the game. What were your thoughts? Yeah, he was massive. I couldn't believe how big he was. He was standing next to Tino at one stage when they were running out, and he wasn't that much smaller than Tino. And Tino's the bloody giant, so he's gonna get tackle bust just because of how big he is. And he didn't take that many runs, but he was in everything. He was supporting the ball a lot, and the Titans they got a lot of points in him. And he's being the fullback there. He's definitely going to get him, and we don't know how long Kinney's going to be out for. He could be out for the season. He's out. It's around 20, I believe. Yeah. Or it might even be 24. But he's out long term. It looks horrible. After Origin. Yeah. At the earliest. You just hope that he goes well, and maybe they don't move AJ Brimson back there or something. That might be the only worry for when Florin's back. But I like him as not an option this week, because we don't have to go him this week, but we can go him next week. Yeah, I thought he actually looked quite good in actual NRL, but it didn't translate to Supercoach. We'll take another look this week, and as you said, it's a good matchup against the Dolphins. Yeah, I totally agree.
On to the Dolphins. So Tom Gilbert's out through suspension. That means Max Plath goes to lock, so I'm interested to see how he goes there. I think that's his best position for Supercoach. And then quickly, Isaiah Katoa, this is your chance to have a little gloat and maybe your future plans about it.
Mate, he looks great. If the Dolphins had a good forward pack for him to play behind, I'd almost keep him for the season. He's got tackle busting in this year. He's making his tackles. He's just a gun. He's a good player. It just sucks he's at the Dolphins. That's the only thing. My plans with him too is hopefully his break even is about 40, so he made 50, 60k for me on the weekend.
Yeah.
Hopefully Cleary drops and I can just go straight to him in one trade.
That would be huge.
One thing I will point out too with Max Plath is the last 2 weeks he's actually played through the middle most of the time, and Tom Gilbert's been on the edge. So I think last week he played maybe 60 minutes through the middle, and Gilbert was on the edge. So yeah, he's played there the last few weeks.
On to the Broncos v the Tigers now. The Broncos have Piakura starting for Jordan Ricky, who is injured, and Jaden Hunt comes onto the bench. Shout out to Shibasaki. He's actually a really popular buy this week, which shocks me because I just assumed everyone owned him. But he's made 175k so far. He's going to make over 300k for us if he stays fit, and you play him every week. What a legend! And he has the best and most important goatee in Australia right now, and they should make some merchandise at the Broncos so he can walk around like the Shib.
Yeah, I think everyone who's buying him this week will be absolutely spewing that they didn't already own him just because of how well he went last week. I still think he is a decent buy, but you'll be missing the cash he's already made, but he will still make more cash.
Yeah. Robert Whittaker absolutely shaking his boots for best goatee in Australia because, geez, it's sharp. It's so good.
On to Jesse Arthurs. He's peaked, so BE is 56. He's done a great job.
Straight to Jenkins if you got him.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, let's elaborate a little bit on Reece Walsh. As I said, he's in my team. He's dropped by $132,000. The BE is 76, so it's not like it's an urgent trade or anything. It's more come about just because Trebojevic is injured. He's got the Tigers, Roosters, Warriors coming up. 2 of those are at Suncorp. He's had 34 points in negative stats this year, so he's making so many errors, giving away so many penalties. He's not looking good. There's not any pointers saying that he is going to improve when you watch him play. The main factor is that he only costs 600k, which is a bargain for him.
I think you can get him in the future even cheaper. He's not really passing the eye test at the moment. I think other teams have sort of figured him out a little bit. So until I see actual signs of improvement, I'm not going to go there.
Well, he's got all those negative stats. So one of his games last week was in the absolute pouring rain. Another one was in Canberra, and we all know how hard it is to play in Canberra. So if he gets a dry track at Suncorp Stadium, he can score anything. He can score 150. So he's bottoming out now. If you got Turbo, and if you got Turbo and Pappenhausen, just straight to him. I reckon.
Yeah, it just needs a dry track. I love it when you get the racing lingo in here, and we love promoting punters as well. On to the Tigers. Dewey's been named, which is good news. I own him. I'm probably going to hold. I've got more important things to do with my team. Thoughts on Dewey?
Yeah, I think it looks like, given that he's named, if he is a late out, he should be back next week. So I think it's a hold if you own him as well. On
to Jerome Luai. He's out for a week. Plus, he's carrying a bit of a bung shoulder as well. He's already lost 153k. You should have sold already. And then finally, I've thrown this out a couple of times in the podcast, but should we just lock in Terrell May as captain every week and go safe? I'm considering it, but I'm biased given how badly I've gone with captaincy in the last 2 weeks.
I mean, if he is your best front row at the moment, he's definitely a contender. If you've got him and Haas, same argument for Haas.
Yeah, well, they're in the same game this week, so
true.
Usually you'd go VC and C on the 2 props, but unfortunately you can't in this weekend.
Yeah, maybe. I don't think I'm brave enough to do that. And plus I'm chasing points, so I'll be playing like a bit more of an upside guy, I think.
He dropped a ball over the line.
I thought he was over.
So it would have been 130 or something on the weekend.
Yeah, why not captain him? He's a safe option. Hey, so if it's a close game, he's going to play 80 minutes.
Yep.
He could have come off on Sunday, but he didn't. So
on to Sea Eagles v the Storm. So Tommy Turbo's out. That means Hopper goes to fullback and Fualalo onto the wing. Now, Hopper, you had a bit of a look at him as a bit of a pod option this week. If you got him in draft, you're laughing. Thoughts as a pod for Classic?
Yeah, until you mentioned him earlier today, I hadn't even considered him. I had a bit of a look at the numbers. Manly's matchups coming up. They've got a few tough games coming up, and his stats in the past at fullback, like, they're decent, but if he doesn't score a try, it's not great. So I think you can pretty safely rule him out as a buy.
He's not that sort of 20 runs a game fullback that we really want for Supercoach. Clayton Fulalo, he pricked my ears a little bit as a cheapie, but you've got Jenkins this week, so you don't need to go there. Only averaging 18 in 2 games, but of course, it just takes 1 try, and he could go up in price. Onto the Storm. Interesting to see Jerome Hughes in reserves, so he could be an early return from that hand injury. Pappenhausen, a lot of people are saying, I can get Pap and make some money. He actually won't make money. He made his money last week. The break-even is 77, so you're getting him for his average, which is almost 90 for the year. Hopefully has the goal kicking this week too.
Yeah, you think he would. It was just a bit of ankle soreness last week, so he was all good to play. He looked pretty sharp. They didn't end up scoring many tries anyway, so it didn't make much of a difference at all, the goal kicking. So they got a nice run coming up, Melbourne. He still might make some money. It might not be heaps, but he won't lose money at least. So, yeah.
On that run, it's pretty tough this week against Manly at 4 Pines, because Manly actually have the second best defence in the comp when you take out the guys who've had the bye. Because you're comparing apples and oranges, obviously. And then they got the Warriors, Dolphins, South. So that's a very good run.
They've had a pretty easy run though, Manly. It seems like every week they're playing at Brookvale Oval too,
exactly.
which helps them. So I think that's a bit inflated. And I just got a feeling Melbourne will put a number on them this week.
Doggies v the Knights. Carraz on the extended bench. As I said last week, I hope that he comes in, eases his way back, loses some money, and then just before Origin, we pick him up because he is a gun of Supercoach.
Yeah, that's the perfect plan. So I'm definitely hoping that things work out that way. Once some of these centre wings that we have, start to bottom out in their break even, we can hopefully move them on and upgrade to him.
Yeah, geez, they're going good too. And all the times where he's been Supercoach relevant, it's been in poor teams. So to have him in a good team. He could. If he had a start of the season, he might have been the highest scoring centre wing for the year. So
indeed, and so no Tupanua this week. He was a bit of a pod purchase a couple of weeks ago, and I traded out Jacob Preston last week, and he's come out and scored a massive ton. At the Knights, they got Leo Thompson back a week early from that knee injury, plus Ponga. We've spoken about him a fair bit, but if you don't own him and you have to get rid of Tom Trbojevic, I think he is the best option. Questions? To finish the show, Sangster, you said last week that you're considering De Groot to get dual status before playing his 3 games at fullbacks, and that it was common sense. So does the same apply for Latrell Mitchell? No, and the reason is he will have only played 1 game in that position, not 2 like De Groot. Plus, for De Groot, there is an injury to the guy who is replacing in Keanu Kinney, and he's out long term. So it just, in that case, it is common sense, plus he will have played 2 games. With Latrell, we don't know if it's just for this week. We don't know if there'll be a late switch on game day and he goes and plays fullback. It might be for 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So he won't get dual position for the round 6 updates. But if he does stay there, if he starts there 3 times, he will get it for round 12.
Yeah, still just too many question marks.
On to Matt McInerney, who writes in every single week. He's very keen Supercoacher. And are we investing in Leroy Jenkins, which is Tom Jenkins? It's
not as enthusiastic as before the show.
You're just too old, mate.
Well, apparently some nerd World of Warcraft. Are we investing in Jenkins? Yes, I think you have to.
For sure.
And can we confidently punt Tass to make... Isaiah Tass to make way,
Yeah, I think that's the trade I'm looking at doing this week. I've got Tass and Arthurs that I both want to get rid of, but I think Tass, I just have not liked what I've seen, so I think he's more of a priority sell for me.
He could be unlocked a little bit if he's on the left wing outside Latrell and Cody, but still, I'd be happy to sell Tass. If a player earns DPP, how come they can't lose DPP? The reason for that is that they're already in people's teams in a certain position. So if they lose that position, then someone's just left with a big fat hole in their team. So we can't do that, unfortunately. Well, lots of chat about try assists, which I'll try and avoid. We might finish the podcast there. Big thanks to Jett, big thanks to Wilso, and we will catch you on tomorrow for the preview podcast. See you then.